All right, everybody. That was a very fun day one of the NFL draft. Streamed for 4.5 hours in total. We had some people who were there pretty much the whole time. We had as many as 150 in there at one point. It was a lot of fun. I think it'll be even more fun tomorrow because we actually have a pick. So definitely try to make your way out there tomorrow. I want to thank everybody who was there today. We all saw some interesting stuff and we all got to talk through it together. And that's ultimately what this is all about. So we've seen 32 picks now. We've seen 32 picks, and obviously none of those picks were made by the Seahawks. So the question is, how do we, as Seahawks fans, digest what we saw? So for me, I see one unfortunate thing that happened in this first round, and it has to do with cornerbacks. So let's start over here on the big board for cornerbacks on the draftnetwork.com. Basically, things seem to go a little haywire after the Broncos took Patrick Surtain at number 9, and I kind of feel like that may have had a ripple effect that caused more cornerbacks to come off than expected. I thought that there were going to be 4 first-round corners in this draft: Farley, Surtain, Horn, and Newsome. There ended up being 5. Eric Stokes, who, as you guys may know, was one of my white whales in this draft, he went. And that was my only platinum player loss. So if you go over to my platinum tier, if you look up above my head at the platinum tier on the left side, up above, you will see that it is now only 6 players long instead of 7 because Eric Stokes is gone. I did not think Stokes was going to be a first-round pick. I thought he was going to be an early second rounder at best, and I thought he was probably going to be a mid-second rounder. I didn't think we were going to be able to get him, but I didn't think he was going to go that soon. So that one kind of wounded me a little bit because I loved Eric Stokes, but was not meant to be. So that was the main thing that happened tonight that discouraged me. There are still a lot of good cornerbacks in this draft, including some that may very well fall to us, but because of Stokes coming off the board in the first round, it's just become a little less likely. A guy like Efiatu Melifonwu may go earlier than expected because of that. So only time will tell, but that was not a great thing to happen for the Seahawks. However, other than that, I feel like things went fairly well. So let's go to the wide receivers because wide receivers was another very important position for me to watch. The usual suspects did go. Jalen Waddle, Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, Rashad Bateman. These are guys I expected to go in the first round, no problem. Kadarius Toney went a little earlier than some people expected, but Terrence Marshall Jr. remains on the board. He got past the Saints. The Saints did not pick him. Rondell Moore remains on the board. I thought he was going to go a couple times, and then he just didn't. Elijah Moore is still on the board. I know that the Draft Network doesn't have him ranked very high, but some sites do. De'Ami Brown is still there. So some of these receivers are starting to slip a little bit. I thought that there were going to be 6 receivers going in the first round, and we only had 5. So that increases the odds that a really good receiver will be there for the Seahawks if we stay at 56. So that was a positive. That is something that I was excited to see. Little disappointed to see the Giants reach for a receiver when they had Devonta Smith pulled out from underneath them. That could have made things even better, but even with that, I think that went pretty well. There's also something very interesting happening at the offensive tackle position. So Sewell went, of course. Slater went, of course. Darisaw went, of course. But they all went lower than I was expecting. All these guys I thought were going to get picked, I thought all of them were going to be like top 15 picks. Darisaw didn't go until, I think, 23. Sewell didn't go until 7 or 8. And Tevin Jenkins and Dylan Radunans are still on the board. Tevin Jenkins, I thought, was a slam dunk first round pick. Dylan Radunans, I thought, had a chance. So the reason why this happened is because the Raiders decided to be the Raiders and they took Alex Leatherwood. And you guys might remember Alex Leatherwood was one of my gold tier players. You can look up above and see I took him off the list because he's gone. So the Raiders decided to go a little crazy, pick up a third round talent in the first round. And because of that, we have some very appealing tackle prospects slipping a little bit. So I don't know if any of these guys are going to be there, Jenkins, Radunans, or Mayfield, or Cosme. But if it happens, we got to be all over it. And I think it's a little more likely that it happens now because of what happened today. So yeah, keep an eye on Jenkins, Reduns, Mayfield, and Cosme tomorrow. Moving on from that, well, I guess that's really pretty much about it. No centers were drafted today. That's kind of notable. It's not surprising. Dickerson still on the board. Creed Humphrey still on the board. Quinn Miners, of course, still on the board. I mean, no other center was really going to get drafted that high. Josh Myers is still there. But all the centers are still available if we choose to go that path. And as expected, only one tight end has come off the board, Kyle Pitts. So after really thinking about it for a second, the worst thing that happened today was that Eric Stokes went much earlier than I expected. But other than that, this is setting up pretty well for us to have a good chance to get a really good player at 56, maybe more than one. Maybe we trade down and still get one of those players. There are some other interesting players that have slipped down the draft board. We're already through the first 32 picks, and there are guys still on the board, such as a JOK. Some people in the chat were hyping him up. Baron Browning still on the board. Aziz Ojulari still on the board. Maybe most interestingly is a Christian Barmore is still out there. So I think that there's definitely some interesting things that can happen if these guys continue to slip. A guy like a Christian Barmore does not really address a need for this team, but I have to admit the value, if he fell to 56 somehow, would be incredible, and it's starting to look like it might be possible. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. We still have more than 20 picks between us and the team picking first tomorrow. But there is an opportunity for some very surprising prospects to fall to us at 56. And even if it doesn't fill a need, you have to consider taking best player available when that comes up. So on the whole, I would say that today went pretty well if you're a Seahawks fan. The Niners took a quarterback that I think they could have done worse, but I think they could have done better. I think the Cardinals bricked their pick, and I see some intriguing players maybe falling to us at 56. I'm really got my eye on Tevin Jenkins. I've really got my eye on Dylan Redunans, Samuel Cosme. I'm wondering. I don't want to get ahead of myself, like I said, but I didn't think they were going to be here, especially somebody like Tevin Jenkins. So that's day one of the draft for me. We saw some interesting stuff, but as it affects the Seahawks, I would have liked it if a safety or two had come off the board, because that would have pushed more good players down to us that I wanted, because I don't want a safety in this draft. I wouldn't have minded seeing Dickerson go just because I don't want Dickerson. Would have loved to have seen a sixth quarterback sneak into the first round somehow if that was possible. But on the whole, pretty good. And I will be covering the entire draft tomorrow, so definitely come and watch that if you want to watch someone's draft coverage that isn't ESPN or NFL Network. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think down below. I'm fairly optimistic about the way the second round has shaped up for the Seahawks, but there's still a lot of stuff to happen between now and our pick. See you guys later. Peace out. Go Hawks. Day one is in the books, and yeah, exciting stuff is happening.